Good afternoon, everybody. Hello. Hello there. We're here to try and bring the public's attention to the matter of an Australian citizen called Julian Assange, who's broken no laws. He was involved in exposing crimes of other people. University students at University of Ohio, they came out and demonstrated they were opposed to the American getting involved in invading Vietnam. And do you know what the authorities did there? They brought out the military, the National Guard, and they shot the university students. They shot peaceful, demonstrating university students in America, in Ohio. It's interesting how many people are giving us a wave and a thumbs up. I think the people in Sydney are aware of this matter. People demonstrating all over the world. This matter is an embarrassment to every Australian who believes that we have some semblance of sovereignty. To see our government prostrate themselves, kowtow over a matter as important as the life of an Australian being trashed over a lot of hoopla, essentially protecting the wrongdoers. You know, there's a saying that defamation laws protect the wrongdoers. Well, people being exposed for whistleblowers, people being imprisoned, and they're doing it more often now. Whistleblowers being thrown in prison, journalists being thrown in prison from all around the world. Not just in tin pot dictatorships that we would imagine these things might happen in Western countries, in European countries. Politicians and authorities getting ahead of themselves, thinking that they are more important than the 99% of people standing for our freedoms and our human rights. And it's not just our freedoms and our human rights, it's the human rights of the people that suffer the consequences of our illegal interventions and wars. It's 2023. They're behaving like it's 1223. Wars are completely obsolete now. There's no need for it. We had perfectly cordial relations with the Chinese only a few years ago. We got lots and lots of lovely Chinese people in Australia. We all love them, they love us, we all have fun, we all like each other, we trade and we prosper. But now, apparently because we don't like the idea of Taiwan being integrated with China, we now want a war with China. Have you ever heard anything so ridiculous in your entire life? Are the Taiwanese people being given a choice in this? Are we being given a choice in this? These are just diktats that come down. And when whistleblowers people that expose the stupidity of these policies, mad, foolish policies that get a lot of people killed, not a lot of people killed, millions of people killed, millions and millions of people being killed over the last, just over the last decade or two. It's outrageous, and not a peep from the media. The media has promoted every one of these wrongful interventions. What about academia? How many people in academia are standing out here with us? They're frightened of losing their jobs. That's how the system works. We know how to stop dissent. We'll just screw you financially. And then you'll look like a fool and we'll have the last laugh, and they'll gloat about it probably. It's a very, very serious matter. We're behaving like we're in the medieval world, and it's not. That world no longer exists. The communications revolution, the internet revolution, it changes everything. Technology and production changes everything. There's no shortage of anything in this world. And I can tell you, in my honest opinion, I don't think any of us are dying from climate change yet, but we sure are dying from bombs being dropped on people. We have to say this is enough. We're not dropping any bombs unless we're invaded. We're not going to get involved in foreign wars. That's my opinion. If you think I'm wrong, come up here and tell us all. I'd be very happy to hear. I'd be happy to hear I'm wrong. I think I might learn something. But this has got to stop. And as for Penny Wong saying last week, am I correct in saying that Penny Wong has said there's nothing more we can do to help Assange? So she's going to watch an Australian citizen effectively being put in solitary confinement for God knows how long and tortured for how long until he confesses to a crime that he may not have committed. Is that how the system works, is it? Well, I'm afraid we know many experts and ex-military people, ex-intelligence people have all come out and exposed these kinds of methods of getting people to confess. This is like going back to King John. It's unbelievable. This is an embarrassment to every single Australian. And Anthony Albanese's credibility is shot. He said he'd do something. It's time to put an end to this Assange matter. He said he'll communicate with the Americans. And what's he do? He puts Penny Wong out to say, oh, we can't do any more. What a goddamn disgrace. So that's why we're here. We want to stop the Australian government embarrassing every Australian in this country, making us appear to be just a little vassal state that does whatever we're told to by England or America. It's time they stood up for our sovereignty. It's time they stood up for the universal human rights of Julian Assange. This is all about human rights. This is all about justice. The founding fathers in America wrote an essay called the Declaration of Independence, where they made it very clear, these are the most important men in America's history, they made it very clear these rights are inalienable. No politician, no authority, no government, no military can stamp on our inalienable human rights. That's what America used to stand for. And yet look what they're doing today. Anyone that doesn't agree with them, they get cancelled. We saw something very interesting last week. I think it was the Hong Kong Shanghai Bank where Nigel Farage, is it? Nigel Farage, one of the fellows that was involved in the Leave the EU campaign, the Brexit campaign. The bank just sent him a letter saying we're closing your account because they didn't like the way he'd said things, that he had opinions that they didn't like regarding the war with Russia. They just cancelled him, and then he tried to contact numerous other banks, and none of them would have an account. He was effectively in a position where he could not buy or sell anything, could not even buy food, because he was cancelled because of his political opinions. Well, that is what we're up for. If we allow digital money to come into existence and the erasure of cash, we can be cancelled with the flick of a switch and we won't have any ability to buy or sell anything. This digital currency is the most dangerous thing that we've ever been confronted with. The digital passports are the same thing. You'll need to get permission to leave your front door or where you're allowed to go in your 15-minute city. Do you think that's a good idea for a faceless bureaucrat who's having his strings pulled by another faceless somebody other up the food chain, who God knows where, possibly in any country in the world, saying, oh, we've got a health problem, so you can't leave your home for the next 6 weeks. Don't worry, it's only 6 weeks. 6 weeks later, don't worry, it's only another 6 weeks. And woe betide anybody that says anything that's critical of the government. We're not far off from them doing what they do in other countries. If you criticise the government, they'll come around and throw you in jail. They've done it before. This is a very, very important matter. This is a life and death matter for your liberties and your human rights. And you've been lied to by the media, and you've been lied to by the politicians. And if you don't stand up for these rights and for the rights of others, I can guarantee you, you won't have these rights. And Anthony Albanese's got a lot to answer for. Every day, Anthony Albanese does not get Julian Assange out of prison in England, or at least say to the Americans, table the evidence of any wrongdoing. Every day is a day closer to him losing his pension, because he will go, just the same as Scott Morrison did, and just the same as all the governments do when they lie to us like this. In some countries they're introducing laws now, namely America, or they're trying to introduce a law in America, that if you are guilty of misinformation, you can have up to $1 million fine and up to 20 years in prison. But the media and the politicians are exempt. Well, how do you like that little one? The real misinformation we've got in this country is coming from the government and is coming from the media, not from we the people. That's why we're here, and we want you to stand up for Assange, because if you don't, you're not standing up for your own children.
I'd like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the original owners, inhabitants and custodians of this fine land. Pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I'd like to welcome you to the 191st Julian Assange Sydney Town Hall gathering. Our democracy has been corrupted. We know this because of Julian Assange and the way he's being mistreated. In a real democracy, the people are able to hold their governments to account. If the people are uninformed or misinformed or just plain lied to, it is not possible for people to meaningfully hold their governments to account. Julian's journalism revealed public interest information that was systematically being withheld from the public through government policy, thereby hiding the crimes of government wherever they might occur. A lack of transparency by governments means that real democracy has been made impossible. This corruption of democracy means that an inordinate amount of power has been placed into the hands of a few people who have no regard for democracy or the principles that go with it. Without real democracy, all our human rights can easily be violated. Today, we see governments and corporations working together to bring in new systems of technocratic control. These new systems of control involve the use of biometric data to control our access to various goods and services. Digital IDs and a central bank digital currency will make participation in mainstream society extremely difficult for anyone who opposes undemocratic control. It will become next to impossible for dissidents to avoid being picked up by digital face recognition or voice recognition employed by these surveillance systems. Technocratic advancements have created a situation in which the lives of many people have lost meaning. A sense of community has been lost by these people, and instead they become inclined to identify with the system which controls them. This situation is troubling for democratically minded people. It is therefore important for us to communicate truthfully with each other so that we can be truthfully informed. We must also do our best to create a sense of community. We need to stand up for our fellow citizens. Julian Assange is a man of the people. His journalism is invaluable to all of us. We need to stand with Julian if we wish to defeat the corruption of our democracy. So I ask you to join in. Free, free, Julian Assange. Free, free, Julian Assange. Free, free, Julian Assange. Thank you.
There's too many of you. Peace train sounding loud, shine on the peace train. Come on, peace train. This peace train, oh, be rolling. Everyone jump around the peace train. Come on, peace train. Yes, it's the peace train.
So much for all this rhetoric about free speech, justice, and voting for politicians that are going to make things right. And what do we get? More of the same. Well, not anymore. Because are they going to have to let Julian out of jail, or are they going to have to put up with us for possibly quite a few more years? because we're not backing down. Anti-war politician called George Galloway.
In a country that pretends to believe in the rule of law and justice, they spied on every legal meeting that Julian had with his representatives in absolute brazen defiance of the rules of justice. And this kind of abuse of process was unveiled by the defense, the case would be thrown out immediately. No trial can take place when it's been corrupted from the beginning. Who cannot tremble with indignation? Well, 95% at least of Britain's journalists didn't even show up today to hear the defence's argument. 95.
George Galloway says if you cannot tremble with indignation and injustice to any person anywhere, you are not a human being. He is right. Escape from all justice in this world.
Killing my country, solitary sadness, swept over me. And after the school was over, and I moved to the other side, I found another country, but I never lost my pride.
Over 750,000 people have already signed. That petition is the largest petition ever before the International Criminal Court in The Hague. We gather here every Friday at 4 p.m. So if you'd like to join us, please come and join us.
About Julian, we're asking people to sign petitions.
It's all about independence.
Respects to my late friend Manuel Santos, a gay man facing deportation to Bolsonaro's Brazil, who took his own life just 8 yards from my cell using a crude rope fashioned from his bed sheets. You need to stand up for Julian, not for Julian's sake, but for your sake, because as many have noted, they're not really after Julian. Julian just gets in the way. They really want you, and they want to control you. So be ready for what's ahead. And preemptive action will be a lot better than after they've taken control. We still have the freedom. We're still standing here speaking freely. But if you come along to Town Hall one Friday afternoon and we're not here, you'll know you've left your run too late. But we know, well, 90% of us know, that this is a grave injustice that reflects on our rights to know the truth about what our government is doing with our money in our name. And specifically, we want these endless wars to end once and for all.
Free Julian Assange!
We are all Assange.